ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। We are reading from the book Perfection of Yoga by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Chapter number 7. प्राप्य पुण्यकृतां लोकान् उषित्वा शाश्वतिः समाः शुचीनां श्रीमतां गेहे योगभ्रष्टोऽभिजायते। अथवा योगिनाम् एव कुले भवति धीमताम् एतद्धि दुर्लभतरं लोके जन्म यदीदृशम्। In this chapter, Krishna explains what is the fate of the unsuccessful yogi. So, continuing with the previous verses, Krishna explains here the unsuccessful yogi, after many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy, or he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Verily, such a birth is rare in this world. There are many planets in the universe, and on the higher planets, there are greater comforts. The duration of life is longer, and the inhabitants are more religious and godly. Since it is said that 6 months on earth is equal to one day on the higher planets, the unsuccessful yogi stays on these higher planets for many years. Vedic literatures describe their lifetimes as lasting 10,000 years. So even if one is a failure, he is promoted to these higher planets, but one cannot remain there perpetually or permanently. When the fruits or the results of one's pious activities expire, he has to return to earth. Yet, even upon returning to this planet, the unsuccessful yogi meets with fortunate circumstances, for he takes his birth in either a very rich family or a pious one. प्राप्य पुण्य कृताम लोकान उषित्वा शाश्वती समाह. Prapya punya kritam lokan. After enjoying the reaction of the punya kritam in the planets where the devatas dwell. After enjoying the results of the punya for thousands of years, the unsuccessful yogi, he comes down to this material world. Of course, the heavenly planets are also part of the material world, right from the Brahmaloka, the Satyaloka, down to the Patala Loka. All these planetary systems are part of the material world, one of the universes of the material world. but still the facilities available, the comforts in the higher planetary systems are more than the comfort in this earthly planet. It is just like there is a jail, and inside the jail there are different compartments. In some compartments the facilities are less, and in some compartments there are better facilities. The trouble or the discomfort is less. Another example is the train. Train is one, but it will have different bogies, different compartments. One compartment is the general, another will be sleepers, another will be 3 AC, then 2 AC, then 1 AC. So it is like train is one going to same destination, but different people enjoy different comforts in that train. Similarly, in this material world also, those who are pious, they get opportunity to enjoy better comforts in the heavenly planets. But you can go to heavenly planets to enjoy those comforts for thousands of years, provided you have done enough pious activities being on this earthly planet. So that is the qualification to go to the heavenly planet. You need not be a big yogi, need not be a big any kind of such things to go to heavenly planets. Just have to perform good punya. But here, Krishna says, those who are yogis, those who are trying to go out of this material world, but they fail. What happens to them is they go to the heavenly planets and they enjoy there for thousands of years, and they come down again. And once they come down, they will not again take birth in the the low creatures, animals, insects, reptiles. No, they directly take birth as a human, and not only an ordinary human, they take birth in Suchinam, Shuchinam, Shrimatam Gehe. Two kinds of Gehe families. One is Shuchinam, means the highly aristocratic, clean family, that is the Brahmana families, and Shrimatam, rich families. Yoga Bhrishto Abhijayate. So whoever is fallen from his path of yoga, he will take birth in such families. Srila Prabhupada explains there are many planets in the universe, and on the higher planets there are greater comforts. The duration of life is longer, and the inhabitants are more religious and godly. So the inhabitants of the higher planetary systems, Bhur, Bhuva, Swaha, Mahar, Jana, Tapa, Satya, in all these planetary systems, the inhabitants, those who are living in those planetary systems, are all more religious and more godly than those who are living on earthly planets. The unsuccessful yogi stays on these higher planets for many, many years. Vedic literature describes their lifetime as lasting 10,000 years. You can imagine a life of enjoyment, a life of comfort for 10,000 years. So even if one is a failure, he is promoted to these higher planets. But one cannot remain there permanently. You can live thousands of years, up to 10,000 years, but you cannot live there permanently. You have to come down. When the fruits of or the results of one's pious activities are over, one has to come down to earthly planets. He has to return to earth. Generally, according to the law of karma, if one enacts pious deeds, he is awarded in the next life by birth into a very aristocratic family. So this happens according to the law of karma. That if somebody enacts pious deeds, he is awarded the next life by a birth into a very aristocratic family or into a very wealthy family, or he becomes a great scholar, or he is born very beautiful. So if somebody has the natural beauty, somebody is a intelligent person, scholar, or born in an aristocratic family or a wealthy family, then this we should understand as the result of his past pious deeds. In any case, those who sincerely begin spiritual life are guaranteed human birth in the next life. So this much guarantee is given by Krishna. Not only human birth, but birth into either a very pious or a very wealthy family. Thus, one with such a good birth should understand that his fortune is due to his previous pious activities and to God's grace. These facilities are given by the Lord, who is always willing to give us the means to attain Him. Krishna simply wants to see that we are sincere. What Krishna wants to see is that we are sincere. Sincerely, we are trying to follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada and the instructions of Krishna in the Gita. This is what Krishna is looking in us. Krishna is not looking in us how much money we are donating to the temple. Krishna is not looking how beautiful we are. Krishna is not looking how intelligent we are. Krishna is looking how sincerely we are following the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. Of course, this doesn't mean we should not donate because Krishna is not seeing. Krishna does appreciate, because when you donate to the temples, do some practical seva, do chanting, reading Bhagavad Gita, all these devotional activities, when you do, it is you who is going to get purified. Sometimes we have seen in the temple, some devotees after a few days they think that they are now well established in Krishna consciousness. They are chanting enough now. They think they need not respect other devotees, right? Even if sometimes some senior devotee comes, or senior doesn't mean with just like outside world we have a senior citizen means 60 plus years. No, senior means one who has started Krishna consciousness before you. He is your senior. So sometimes some senior comes, we sometimes neglect, or we become careless to say, fold our hands and say Hare Krishna, or sometimes half-heartedly we say, right? So this is actually when you say Hare Krishna to someone, holding your hands, some devotees think that they are doing a upakara on the person whom they are telling Hare Krishna. But it's actually the opposite. When you say folding your hands Hare Krishna to some other devotees, whether that devotee is a senior devotee or junior devotee or whoever, when you say that, it is you who are going to get purified. If I do Hare Krishna Namaskara to some other devotee, it will help me to progress in Krishna consciousness. Krishna will appreciate me, right? I will be the one who will become more humble. So it will make me more qualified to reach Krishna faster. But I think if I say that Hare Krishna to that devotee will become happy. No, I am doing upkara on that devotee. It is wrong. That devotee it will not and it will not make an inch of difference for that devotee. But for you, if you say, it will make you progress in devotional service faster. And if you don't say, you will go down, the progress will become less. Right? So, Krishna simply wants to see that we are sincere. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that every particular person has his own duty in life, regardless of his position and regardless of his society. If, however, he gives up his prescribed duty and somehow, either out of sentiment or association or craziness or whatever, takes shelter of Krishna, and if due to his immaturity he falls from the devotional path, still there is no loss for him. On the other hand, if a person executes his duties perfectly but does not approach God, then what does he earn? His life is indeed without benefit. But a person who has approached Krishna is better situated, even though he may fall down from yogic platform. Right? Many times we see in the outside world, people think that why to worship God when they are good to everyone. They are not harming anyone. They are gentlemen. They don't use harsh words. They don't do any harm to other people, other living entities. Then why to worship Krishna? Right? So yes, that kind of life is good. It's better than that of the life of animals and the life of those who are committing sins. But that is not sufficient. Much better is the life that person who surrenders to Krishna. Because a devotee, once a person becomes devotee, he acquires all those qualities of devatas, what to speak of human. The devotee acquires automatically once he starts performing devotional service, once he starts chanting Hare Krishna, he attains all the qualities of the devatas. So, what does he earn who makes a good living, earns a big money, builds a big house, makes a very good, happy family, but does not surrender to Krishna? What does he earn? Krishna further indicates that all good families to be born into, Krishna further indicates that of all good families to be born into, families of successful merchants or philosophers or meditators, the best is the family of yogis. One who takes birth in a very rich family may be misled, right? Very common. It is normal for a man who is given great riches to try to enjoy those riches. Thus, rich men's sons often become drunkards or prostitute hunters. Similarly, one who takes birth in a pious family or in a Brahminical family often becomes very puffed up and proud, thinking, I am a Brahmana, I am a pious man. There is a chance of degradation in both rich and pious families. But one who takes birth in a family of yogis or of devotees has much better chance of cultivating again that spiritual life from which he has fallen. Krishna tells Arjuna, Tatratam buddhi samyogam labhate paurvadehikam yatate cha tato bhujaha samsiddho kurunandana. On taking such a birth, he again revives the divine consciousness of his previous life and he tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O son of Kuru. So, not only he takes birth in a pious aristocratic, and a wealthy family, he also revives his divine consciousness of his previous life. Tatratam buddhi samyogam labhate paurvadehikam. The buddhi samyoga, the consciousness what he had during his previous life, labhate, he gets that paurvadehikam which was in the previous life. Yatate cha tato bhujah samsiddho kurunandana. And then yatate cha tato bhujah, and he tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete samsiddho, complete success. O Kurunandana. Being born in a family of those who execute yoga or devotional service, one remembers his spiritual activities executed in his previous life. Anyone who takes to Krishna consciousness seriously is not an ordinary person. He must have taken to the same process in his previous life. Why is this? Urvabhyasena tenaiva hriyate hi avashopi saha जिज्ञासुर अपि योगस्य शब्द ब्रह्म शब्द ब्रह्माति वर्तते. By virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles, even without seeking them. In the material world, we have experienced that we do not carry our assets from one life to another. I may have millions of dollars in the bank, but as soon as my body is finished, my bank balance is also finished. At death, the bank balance does not go with me. It remains in the bank to be enjoyed by somebody else. This is not the case with spiritual culture. Even if one enacts a very small amount of the on the spiritual platform, he takes that with him to his next life, and he picks up again from that point. When one picks up this knowledge that was interrupted, he should know that he should now finish the balance and complete the yogic process. One should not take the chance of finishing up the process in another birth, but should resolve to finish it in this life. We should be determined in this way. Somehow or other, in my last life, I did not finish my spiritual cultivation. Now Krishna has given me another opportunity. So let me finish it up in this life. Thus, after leaving this body, one will not again take birth in this material world where birth, old age, disease, and death are omnipresent, but will return to Krishna. One who takes shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna sees this material world simply as a place of danger. For one who takes to spiritual culture, this material world is actually unfit. Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati used to say, this place is not fit for a gentleman. One who has approached Krishna and has attempted to make spiritual progress, Krishna, who is situated within the heart, begins to give directions. In the Gita, Shri Krishna says that for one who wants to remember him, he gives remembrance, and for one who wants to forget him, he allows him to forget. Thus ends the 7th chapter of the book, The Perfection of Yoga. Now we move on to the 8th chapter, that is the perfection of yoga. This chapter carries the name of the title of the book. It is a fact, therefore, that in the progress of the living entity toward the perfection of yoga, birth in a family of yogis or devotees is a great boon. For such a birth gives one a special impetus. Krishna further says, Prayatnad yatamanastu yogi samshuddha kilbhishah aneka janma samsiddhas tato yati param gatim. But when the yogi engages himself with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contaminations, then ultimately, after many, many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal. When one is finally freed from all contaminations, he attains the supreme perfection of the yoga system, Krishna consciousness. Absorption in Krishna is the perfect stage, as Krishna himself confirms. Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudevah sarvam iti samahatma sudurlabha. Bahunam janmanam ante, after many, many births, Jnanavan, that devotee who is intelligent, that devotee with perfect knowledge, Mam prapadyate, he surrenders unto me. And Vasudevaha Sarvamiti, he understands that Lord Vasudeva is everything. Samahatma Sudurlabha, such great souls, Mahan Atmas are Durlabha, not only Durlabha, they are Sudurlabha. Sudurlabha means very, very rare. Durlabha means rare. Sudurlabha means very, very rare. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Thus, after many lifetimes of executing pious activities, when one becomes freed from all contaminations arising from illusory dualities, he engages in the transcendental service of the Lord. Sri Krishna concludes his discourse on this subject in this way. So this is the final verse of the chapter Dhyana Yoga, the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And in the conclusion, usually we see when people speak, they speak a lot many things, but when they conclude, they give the essence, they give the final verdict, right? They give the cream of that subject. And the cream of the subject of Dhyana Yoga, Krishna gives here. Yoginam api sarvesham madgatenantaratmana Shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktatamo matah. Of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. So Krishna, all over this chapter, Krishna explains about the yoga system, the Ashtanga yoga system, the mind of the yogi, the progress of the yogi, the postures of the yogi. But here, Krishna speaks about who is the greatest yogi. Yoginam api sarvesham, of all the yogis. Madgatena antaratmana, Madgatena, one who has kept me in the core of his heart. Antaratmana, not only kept me in the core of heart, but how? Shraddhavan bhajate yoma, with great transcendental faith, he worships me. Same yuktatamo mataha. According to me, this is my opinion. This is the opinion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. What is that opinion? This yogi, one who always keeps me in his heart, worships me with great transcendental faith. He is the topmost yogi of all the yogis. This is the perfection of yoga. To worship constantly the Lord of our heart, Lord Krishna. So, with this book, this chapter concludes, and also we have completed reading of this book. So, we will meet you in the next session with another book by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Till then, all of you can chant nicely, read other books, and always try to be sincere in following the instructions of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita and the instructions of Srila Prabhupada in his books. Thank you all for joining these sessions. Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.